Conservative new media viewers, Jeremy Lin fans around the world, Charlotte Hornets fans around the world. What's up? It's me, PFV, Paul F. Villarreal, the NBA expert, and we are here to talk about the Charlotte Hornets 127-122 overtime victory tonight against the Sacramento Kings in Charlotte, North Carolina. With the win, Hornets improved to 8-6 on the season. Kings fall to 5-10. In a nutshell, this game is the reason why we love the NBA, all of us, because of games like this. This looked horrible for the Hornets in the third quarter. It looked terrible. It looked like they quit, looked like they weren't trying, looked like they were demoralized and lost. And then everything totally, completely changed in the fourth quarter and continued to change in overtime. And we'll talk all about it here. First, though, I've got to do my celebratory yell whenever the team wins. So it's going to be loud. And if you don't want to hear it, we'll count down from 3. You can turn down the sound. 3, 2, 1. Woo! Woo! That was an amazing game, wasn't it? Look, let me go over the stats really quickly just to get that over with. The Kings were led by DeMarcus Cousins, 30 points, 11 rebounds, although DeMarcus did not play in, I think, late in the fourth quarter and overtime of this game, and I believe it's because he hurt his back. Something was bothering him during the game, and he didn't finish out the game, and they certainly could have used him, just to put it mildly. Rudy Gay, 28 points, 10 rebounds. Rajon Rondo, 14 points, 8 rebounds, and 20 assists. He was amazing in this game, really amazing. He also shot 50%, which, if you know Rajon Rondo, that's pretty darn good for him. Turning to the Hornets, Kemba Walker was gigantic in this game. He dominated the fourth quarter. He finished the night with 39 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists. 21 of Kemba's points came in the fourth quarter when he just essentially lifted the entire bench of Charlotte and carried everybody on the whole team by himself. It was amazing to watch. Nick Batum, 18 points, 10 rebounds. Al Jefferson, 10 points. Al only played 23 minutes in this game, and that was because of the lineups that Steve Clifford used down the stretch of this game, and I'll get to that in a little bit. Cody Zeller, 12.6 rebounds. Jeremy Lin, 11 points, 5 rebounds. Jeremy Lin, who was Mr. Overtime in this game, 14 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. Jeremy played 31 minutes tonight, shot 5 of 12 from the field, including 1 of 3 from three-point range, 3 of 5 from the free throw line, 2 steals, 1 block, 4 turnovers, 1 personal foul, and Jeremy's plus-minus was a plus 18. And I also have to mention Frank Kaminsky, 9 points, 5 rebounds. That doesn't sound like much. Frank was enormous in this game. When he came into the game, and I believe it was the start of the fourth or midway through or something like that, he had a confidence and a purpose that really helped to alter the tide of how the game went. So those are the statistics here. The upshot of why Charlotte won this game was because they got determined that they were going to fight rather than just lay down, which is what was happening in the third quarter. Basically, this game was tied at 60 points apiece at halftime. It was it was just a shootout. Charlotte can outscore most teams, but they were not going to outscore Sacramento tonight. They had to play some defense. And in the start of the third quarter, the Kings came out and just started rolling over Charlotte. And Charlotte just had no energy, nothing. Zip. They got down by 22 points. I don't know, maybe late in the third quarter. And then they just kind of collectively decided, and Kemba Walker talked about it afterwards, we had a timeout, and we said, we've got to play better. Even if we didn't win, we have to play better. We have to try more. And from that point on, everything started to change. The beginning of the fourth quarter, Charlotte was down by 17 points. And they just, in the fourth quarter, Kemba just started pulling them back, pulling them back, pulling them back, pulling them back, pulling them back. Late in the fourth quarter, Charlotte took the lead in this game, and then the Kings had a tremendous fourth quarter. They had a tremendous play call out of a timeout, which was basically an alley-oop lob to Rudy Gay, which Rudy Gay caught in the air, tipped. He touched it and threw it in off the backboard to tie the game and send it into overtime. Then in the overtime, Charlotte took control, and that was mostly led by Jeremy Lin, who had, I believe, 8 points in overtime, 8 of Charlotte's 15 points. And at one point in the overtime, it was Jeremy Lin 7, Kings 6. And Jeremy missed a free throw, and he missed a shot or two in overtime as well, so he could have even finished with more points in overtime. So this, again, I'll talk about it a little bit more specifically here in a second, but that's the overview of what took place in this game. The overview of how Jeremy Lin played in this game was this. And there were a lot of people on Twitter. I was on Twitter during the game, and a lot of people were very unhappy with Jeremy at halftime. And they thought he was playing too passively, and he had 3 turnovers at the half. But what I saw from Jeremy tonight was actually, to me, this was the most relaxed I've seen Jeremy with the Hornets. He wasn't forcing anything. He was just hanging back and playing in the flow. And I thought it was a good thing. And when it was time for him to step up, then he did that. In overtime, the Kings started to bring extra defensive help against Kemba. Like they started double teaming him or kind of doing soft double teams, running 2 men at him. Jeremy understood that, and that meant there's openings for drives and shots for other players, particularly for the backcourt. And Jeremy took advantage of that. So, look, I'm not going to – he had 4 turnovers, although I think at least 2 of those weren't bad turnovers. Maybe even 3 of them. One of them he definitely got fouled on that it wasn't called. He, like I said, he took advantage of the moment when it came, but he didn't force anything. And that's what I liked about the way he played tonight. Sure, we want him to play more and this type of thing, but I liked what he did tonight. I really did, and I said that on Twitter at halftime. I liked the way Jeremy played in the first half. Jeremy played the entire fourth quarter and the entire overtime. He was the bench player with the most minutes, and he had the 3rd most minutes played tonight behind only Kemba and Nicholas Batum. Obviously, Steve Clifford liked the way he was playing and stayed with him. It was just one of those nights for Jeremy to blend in until it was time to strike like a cobra, and then he did it. So I thought he played great tonight, and he played really good defense. I'm not saying everything he did was perfect, like the turnovers, but I like the way he approached the game tonight. And I do think it was the most relaxed that I've seen him with the Charlotte Hornets. Okay, so let's talk about some specific things, and I'll go over the quarter by quarter for the overtime so we can go over what Jeremy did then. Now, obviously, again, the important part of this game, or the most important for Hornets fans, is the fourth quarter and overtime. I'm looking at the information right now in front of me. Okay, to start the fourth quarter, the lineup was Kemba Walker, Jeremy Lin, Jeremy Lamb, Frank Kaminsky, and Cody Zeller. I labeled this lineup as speedball. Now, Frank Kaminsky isn't exactly what you associate with speed, but basically this was not exactly small ball, but like spacing ball and athletic big men. Frank can shoot, and he's more athletic than you think, and Cody's an athlete. So in other words, you got shooting out there. Cody is more athletic than Al Jefferson is. Frank is a very good shooter, and again, he's more athletic than you think, and he's more athletic than a guy like Spencer Hawes, I would imagine. And that this is what Clifford wanted to try to roll with to get the comeback, and it worked. And so you had more passing, more shooting, more playmaking. Jeremy Lamb can shoot. Frank Kaminsky can shoot. Kemba was on tonight with his jump shot. Jeremy Lin can shoot. And Cody can get up and down the court, and he can play pick and roll with Jeremy. And like I said, we went right into the fourth quarter, started out with a 17-point deficit. Very quickly, it was down to a 10-point deficit after Kemba Walker hit a three-pointer to cut it 91-81. Then Jeremy Lin had a reverse layup in the half court. Nice play going, driving from right to left. Just went like right along the baseline. Came right up on the other side. Boom. Got the reverse layup. Then he had his fourth turnover of the game, which is he was driving to the basket, and I thought he clearly got hit. Like one of the Kings hit him with their body, and he lost the ball, but no foul was called there. Going on in the middle of the fourth, then Jeremy hit his, I think at that point Jeremy hit a 3-point shot, actually. Yes. Jeremy Lamb passed Jeremy Lin the ball in transition. He was about 5 degrees right of the top of the arc, and he drilled it. It was a perfect shot. Great play by Jeremy Lamb, who had passed up Jeremy Lin on a 3-point attempt like a couple plays before that. Jeremy Lamb was driving to the basket. Jeremy Lin was wide open in the right corner, and Jeremy Lamb got an offensive foul because he went for a layup and he ran into one of the Kings defenders. So he kind of made amends for that missed opportunity, and he found Jeremy Lin on this play, and Jeremy Lin converted it. Then Jeremy had his second assist of the game to Frank Kaminsky, who then hit a jump shot. Then Jeremy had another assist, this one to Kemba Walker for a 3-pointer. He had 2 defensive rebounds there in the middle of the fourth. Going late into the fourth, Sacramento still led by 11 points. That got worked down. Kemba Walker hit a 3-pointer. Pretty soon it was 108-102. Then, let's see. Somebody else scored 108-104. Jeremy, at this point, the score was 108-104, and Jeremy had the opportunity to take a 3-point shot. He was about 30 degrees right of the top of the arc, and he didn't take it. And I thought it was fine that he passed it up at that point. I think he was 1 of 2 or 1 of 3. I mean, sure, you want him to take shots and be confident, but if you're not confident, don't take the shot. And instead, he ended up giving the ball to Kemba, and Kemba scored on a layup to cut the score down to 108-106. Just a 2-point deficit at that point. Then Jeremy played excellent defense against Marco Bellinelli, forced him into a miss. I can't remember I think it was maybe Nick Batum hit 2 free throws. That made the score 108-108. Kemba Walker then saved a Sacramento turnover from going out of bounds. He passed it into Jeremy, and then Jeremy passed it back to Kemba as Charlotte was coming down the court. Kemba Walker came down, hit a jump shot. That gave Charlotte its first lead since the second quarter, I believe, 110-108. At this point in time, Sacramento called a timeout, and there was 1 minute and 12 seconds left in the game. This is when DeMarcus Cousins came out of the game for good. Again, he was holding his back at one point in this game, or several points. So I guess obviously he was just hurting and maybe he couldn't go anymore. I'm sure that decision will be discussed in Sacramento tonight and in the days to come. Then Jeremy almost got he went up to get a defensive rebound. He couldn't get it. He tipped it. Unfortunately, it ended up going to the Kings. Then the Kings, after another timeout, they called a set play that went to Marco Bellinelli that he scored. That was against Jeremy, but Jeremy was coming around a screen, so it wasn't really his fault. It was just basically a really well-designed play. That tied the game up 110-110. Then Kemba made a layup with 1 second left, 112-110 Charlotte. And then the Kings executed that play I said earlier, which was the alley-oop to Rudy Gay, which he was able to catch and convert. It was an excellent play, and you got to give him credit for drawing up that play to George Karl, the head coach of the Kings. So we headed into overtime, 112-112. Same lineup on the court. Now, there was one change made that I didn't say. Nick Batum replaced Jeremy Lamb, I think, maybe about halfway through the fourth quarter. The other 4 players all played the entire fourth quarter, and that is Kemba, Jeremy Lin, Frank Kaminsky, and Cody Zeller. So as we headed into overtime, those 4 plus Nick Batum were still on the court. In other words, Steve Clifford staying with the guys that made the comeback happen, okay? Then we go in, let's see. Sacramento scored the first basket of overtime, 114-112 Sacramento. Then Frank Kaminsky hit a three-pointer. He was coming up big in this game. He really came up big for the Hornets, 115-114 Charlotte. Then Jeremy went to the basket, driving to the basket. I think he was coming from the right-hand side. Went up, got a layup, and was fouled, made the free throw. That made it 118-114 for Charlotte. Soon after that, Jeremy missed a three-pointer from about 15 degrees right of the top of the arc. It almost went in. It went in and out. It hit around the rim, just bounced out. That would have been, he was going for the finishing strike there. Then Jeremy, after that miss, he scored his 4th basket of the game. It was another reverse layup. He again was going right to left, came up on the left-hand side of the basket. Nice little reverse, went right up there. That gave the lead, a 6-point lead to the Hornets, 120-114. Sacramento timeout with 2 minutes and 23 seconds left. Then Darren Collison was able to kind of shake Jeremy off of him and kind of get Jeremy going backwards. Collison converted a jump shot, 120-116. Hornets lead cut down to 4. Then Jeremy drove to the basket very hard. From the right-hand side, he went up. He was clearly expecting to get a foul call. No foul was called. He missed the basket, so that ball went to Sacramento there. Then I made the note that says Sacramento double-teaming Kemba Walker and leaving Jeremy Lin open. This is why I said Jeremy's smart enough to understand. He knows what the defense is doing. And if they're basically daring you to score, then do it. And that's exactly what he did. There's a weakness in the defense because they're putting more focus on Kemba. Take advantage of it, and that's exactly what Jeremy did, and he did it to great effect in overtime. And like I said, when Jeremy needed to be aggressive, he was very aggressive. He just waited. He just kind of went with everything and then did it. So like I said, I don't think I'm okay with him playing like this. I am, because this is more of like he played more as a facilitator and a defender for the first 3 quarters of this game. And then when he needed to turn it on, he turned it on. That's fine. That's what's good about being a versatile player. You don't have to just score. You can pass, you can defend, you can make things easier for your teammates, and that's what he did. And then when he needed to score in the overtime, he did. Okay, timeout, Sacramento, 120-116. Charlotte at that point with 1 minute and 5 seconds left. Then Costa Koufos was fouled. He had 2 free throws. He made both of them. That cut Charlotte's lead down to just 2 points, 120 to 118. Then Jeremy scored, I believe, his third basket in overtime. He drove against Marco Bellinelli from the left-hand side of the top of the key, which is that little circle, a half circle on top of the free throw line. Drove against Marco Bellinelli, got him going backwards, faded away, hit a nice little jump shot, 122-118 for Charlotte then. Sacramento timeout. At that point in time, Jeremy had 7 of the Hornets' 10 points in the quarter, the only exception being the Frank Kaminsky made three-pointer. Then the score got up to 124 to 120. He was then fouled, was Jeremy Lin, missed the first shot, made the second shot. Charlotte then made its first substitution since the middle of the fourth quarter, which, as I said, was Nick Batum for Jeremy Lamb. They substituted in Marvin Williams for Cody Zeller. I think it was like a defensive substitution or switch. After Jeremy made the second free throw, that was 125 to 120 for Charlotte. Then Jeremy finally had a layup attempt with, maybe 10 seconds left in overtime. He was coming in from the left-handed side in transition. It was a situation where Sacramento was pressuring the Hornets in the back court. They were trying to get a steal. And the Hornets got beyond the trap, and so they essentially had a 2-on-1 fast break. Jeremy went in. He missed a layup. Kemba Walker rebounded it and put it in. Some people think Jeremy was passing to Kemba off of the backboard. It's possible. Honestly, I don't know. I'd have to see the play again. I wouldn't put it past Jeremy to do that. I don't. When I watched it, I thought I just missed a layup. And people are like, how could he miss it? That's a tough situation. And Jeremy's coming from the left-hand side, which is not his preferred side. And he knew the defender was there and was going to challenge it. So sometimes you just shoot it too hard. And that might have been what happened. But Kemba was there trailing the play. He cleaned it up. That made the score 127 to 120. Kings got one final basket, but it was irrelevant. So Charlotte wins 127 to 122. As I mentioned earlier, Lin scored 8 of Charlotte's 15 points in the overtime, and he could have had more. He had a couple more shots, and he could end up with, 11 or 12, 13 points in the overtime, but it didn't matter. He did what he needed to do. He finished with a good, solid, strong game. Going into the fourth quarter of this game, Jeremy's efficiency was -1. At the end of overtime, it was 10. So he had +11 efficiency in the fourth quarter in overtime. That's fantastic. Let me see. Let me calculate really quickly. His PER will probably come down a little bit, but it doesn't matter. Charlotte had to win this game. And as I said earlier on Twitter, this is the type of game where you need to get this victory. Sacramento's a talented team, but they're not a good team. And so you're at home, you're in the middle of a homestand, a bunch of games in a row at home. You're playing a team that you're favored against. You need to win this game. And they did win it. And I believe that this ties them for like the 8th spot in the East right now in the playoffs, or maybe even they're alone in 8th spot because the Knicks lost. So this had everything in it. It looked like a complete disaster in the third quarter, just a total fiasco. And it's one of those games where if it would have stayed like that, there would have been questions about the coach. There would have been questions about the effort of the players. They totally flipped the script, changed up everything, and instead it becomes this gritty, hard-fought, persevering victory. The stuff of, epic poems in Greece or something. So this was fantastic. This was critical for the team to get this win. And I said Jeremy Lin was right in the middle of it. Sometimes you're not the guy that does everything, although Jeremy was in overtime. You're the glue guy. you're the guy that's on the court while somebody else is starring, but you're doing what you need to do. And that's what I thought Jeremy Lin did for the first 3 quarters of this game. Even though his statistics didn't look good, he did what needed to be done, including playing good defense. And at the end, he was rewarded and his stats looked better. He was the 3rd best scorer on the team behind only Kemba and Nick Batum. But I'm just thrilled about this win all the way around. Great for the team, great for Jeremy Lin. This should definitely help Jeremy Lin in terms of how Steve Clifford sees him. Jeremy came through big in this game. And as I said, he came through without having to score for most of the game. He still was able to play that kind of supporting role and play it well. And so that's really, really good moving forward. And speaking of moving forward, let's look ahead right now to what will be coming up then for the Hornets as their homestand continues. So this is the 3rd game of 7 in a row at home for the Hornets. All 3 of them have been victories. They beat Brooklyn, they beat Philly, they beat Sacramento. Games they had to win if you're going to really make a hunt for the playoffs. And the East is much better than what people thought it was going to be, which means it's going to be a lot harder to get the playoff spot than people thought it was coming into this season. So the Hornets are going to have to be even better if they want to get into the playoffs. And winning these last 3 games really helps their cause. The next game coming up is in 2 days from now, Wednesday, November 25th. That is the Thanksgiving Eve here in the United States. And it's against the Washington Wizards. Washington they've kind of underachieved so far this year. So it's a winnable game. Washington's a very talented team. This is going to be a challenging game if Washington is in the mood to make it a tough game. They're a very good team when they want to be. So definitely the remaining 4 games of the home stand are going to be tougher. Washington, Cleveland, Milwaukee, Golden State. Cleveland and Golden State are 2 of the 3 best teams in the league right now, along with San Antonio. Those are going to be very difficult to win. So like I said, that means you need to win every other game. Washington's a game that Charlotte definitely wants to go in looking for the win, and same against Milwaukee, even though they're both talented teams. So Wednesday, November 25th, 7 p.m. here on the East Coast of the United States, which means that the game will take place on Thursday, November 26th at 8 a.m. in Taipei, Taiwan, and throughout the country of China. Look, terrific night tonight. Thrilling, exciting, as I said at the start, everything you could possibly want in an NBA contest. All the lows, all the highs, all the excitement. Mr. Overtime showing up when he absolutely had to. But as I said, he was there all along. He just wasn't scoring, and that's okay. Do other things. Play good defense, which he played tonight. You're going to get on the court. And I'm glad that Steve Clifford trusted Jeremy Lin to help bring home the victory tonight. And once again, we send our shouts out to Kemba Walker and Frank Kaminsky. Kemba was gigantic. Frank really came through. This is, like I said on Twitter, this is like the coming out party for Frank Kaminsky. Stats don't show it, but he really added an element when he came into the game, and he helped turn the tide big time. And just really happy for him. They also had a really nice dunk in this game that showed more athleticism than what you think that he would have. So that is it. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Your comments below. How pumped up are you about this win? I know people are thrilled Right now, my Twitter notifications are like 115 because I can see it right now. It's people everybody's geeked up about this game. We want to thank Gary Chen of Taiwan and of the Jeremy Lin Garden fan group for the artwork you're looking at right here. Gary's an artist and blogger in Taiwan. Obviously, he's quite talented, as you can see. In the video description below the video player, you'll find links that'll give you more information about Gary and about Jeremy Lin Garden. Also in the video description, information so you can go check out highlights of this game. You definitely want to see whatever you can of this game. If you can find a replay of this game, watch it, particularly the fourth quarter and overtime. Finally, in the video description, information how you can come and join the Conservative New Media Facebook group and how you can come follow us on Twitter. We love talking basketball. I don't have that much time these days, so I haven't been on there that much, but I still go on there during the games. It's also how we let people know when these videos are up and ready to roll, so we encourage you to come and follow us there. I am PFE, once again, Paul F. Villarreal, the NBA expert, and a happy PFE tonight, along with all of Jeremy Lin and Hornets Nation, as we saw a terrific display of what the NBA can be tonight. Thanks a lot for watching Conservative New Media. We strive to be the #1 Jeremy Lin YouTube fan channel. And I'll also tell you this, if you haven't seen it yet, we put this out on Twitter. The Fung brothers, they're YouTube stars, did a two-part, I believe it's 2 parts, it might be more, I think it's just 2 parts, 2-part interview with Jeremy Lin that they conducted in Charlotte, North Carolina before the season began. So go and check those guys out. They're terrific. They do great work on YouTube. We're glad that they and Jeremy Lin got to kind of get together and talk hoops. It's like Asian guys talk hoops. I believe that's the tagline that they use, and they do a really fun job. They love their hoops, so encourage you to go and check that out. That is it for now. Very eager to hear what everybody has to say. I'm eager to watch the post-game videos, see what Coach Clifford has to say. Maybe we get to hear from Jeremy. We've already heard some of what Kemba said immediately after the game, but there'll be another interview with him, I'm sure. Just fun stuff. And the Hornets showed determination, they showed perseverance. They did it, and they dug deep. This is a type of win that can go a long way in this 82-game season. This is worth quite a bit, so very good stuff. Take care. Talk to you again soon. Next game coming up Wednesday, just 2 days from now.